What's up, comic book fans, and welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me, and today we got more Fall of the House of X with the third issue of Resurrection of Magneto. And this issue does not disappoint because finally, the master of magnetism is reborn. Hell hath no fury like Magneto reborn. But will Storm make it out with him? And if you need to get caught up with this series, then I place a card up top to the Resurrection of Magneto playlist, as well as a link at the end of the video. But for everybody else, if you remember, after the last issue, both Magneto and Storm winded up in the dimension of the Shadow King. So if you guys are ready to find out how Magneto makes it back to the land of the living, and if Storm can make it out with him, then you guys know what time it is. Let's get it. So we start this issue with Storm and Magneto still in this dimension inhabited by the Shadow King. But now Storm appears to be alone as she's approached by the face of Annihilation, asking Storm if she'd honestly thought that they were done. Now, Annihilation had recently been defeated by Storm back during the Genesis War, and Storm asked this face where did it take Magneto, but all the mask says is far away. This face really wants to know if Storm truly thought the battle between them was over, to which Storm did in fact believe so. But Annihilation informed Storm that all she did was cut him off from physical space. To end him is much more difficult. But Storm is not easily tricked, and she knows that when she first arrived in this place, she was met by the Shadow King, and it's likely the Shadow King now that possesses this face of Annihilation. And of course, Storm is correct in her assumption that this is still the Shadow King before her, as the Shadow King then gives Storm something to think about as he asks her if Annihilation was truly a mask, or is the Shadow King the face of Annihilation. Then he tells Storm that perhaps she's thinking too small. Perhaps we are a legion, each with our own name and role, yet each aligned. Perhaps you've battled us many times in borrowed guises. Perhaps you battle us every day of your life, and on into the future, an endless war. And then he asks Storm once again, are we done? And Storm now acknowledges that they are never done. And now Storm goes on the offensive with this entire Shadow King Legion. Meanwhile, we see that the Shadow King also taunts Magneto at the same time using the face of Charles Xavier, as he and Magneto now overlook the battle between Storm and the Legion like a game of chess. But Magneto isn't too thrilled with the Shadow King using Charles to speak his words. But the Shadow King questions Magneto, asking him if he's sure that with all he's learned, that there is no shadow in Charles Xavier. Do you really believe that, Eric? He's a good man, Magneto replies to the Shadow King. And then we see as the Shadow King eventually uses all of the past forms of Xavier to continue taunting Magneto with his former name of Eric Lyncher. We see Charles's regular wheelchair to the classic hover chair that Xavier used to use. But the Shadow King reminds Magneto that when he and Charles met, it was as Eric Lyncher. So of course that's how Charles thinks of him. But by now going by the name of Max, this is Magneto's attempt to finally drop all of his masks. But there's still one mask that remains, Shadow King reminds him. That no matter how much he'd like to be Max, what's the name in your heart? And Max responds that it is Magneto. And now the Shadow King reveals himself in the form of Magneto, now towering over Max, and speaking as if he were truly the master of magnetism. The human race no longer deserves dominion over planet Earth. The day of the mutants is upon us. And the first phase of my plan will be to show my power, to make Homo sapiens bow to Homo superior. As we then transition back to Storm and her fight. And we can see now that this fight is more than what it looks like. This is a fight with how she is to be perceived. The Omega's Omega, the goddess on her throne, never failing, never permitted to fail. Am I to be allowed no flaw, she ponders. Just before she then rejects these feelings, she will not be caged, not by the hand of this demon nor anyone else. But just as she rejects one cage, she's hit with another as the mask of annihilation now covers Storm's face and forces her to listen to its words. You wouldn't listen to your own reality, but now you're in my house. Now it's just you and me, and it's my turn to speak. And now this mask just continues to taunt Storm, telling her that she's addicted to responsibility, and as she fights to remove this mask from her face, upon its removal, she's now met with the face of Charles Xavier. But Storm knows this is yet another trick by the Shadow King as he continues his taunting over her. Then we take a look at Magneto and his trials, looking into the eyes of his own radical version of his past self, screaming back at him, demanding to rule the earth. Magneto has had enough. He's aware of his past ill-considered words, as he now seems to take a more Zen-like approach and becomes unbothered by the hate-filled Shadow King. Now, this version of Magneto is almost assuming the role of Charles Xavier and speaking with the old Magneto, as he tells the old version of himself that there is still a place for us in the broken land. I do not deny you. I will not ignore you. You are a part of me, perhaps the most foundational part. You are my rage, my justified anger in response to the monstrous crimes against me and mine. Should I forgive those evils? Should I forget? Remember only my daughter's laugh, never her final screams? So I am told. So I am often told. But I cannot forgive. Not even myself. Where does that leave us? Throughout my life, I have repressed the rage in me until it exploded, or I have given it free rein over all decision. But I cannot return to the world and return to the same path. I must change. We must evolve. So I acknowledge all that I have done. I admit all that I am. I own the shadow that is in me. And if this is the engine that drives me, let it drive me to a better world. A world for all who are hated and feared. Then we go back to Storm, and she's hit with an ultimatum from the Shadow King to accept him, acknowledge that he is part of the human heart, and allow him to work in the world, or to reject him and stay in battle. But Storm knows that this is his trap, and this is not a binary decision. She must accept him, acknowledge his part in the tapestry of existence, respect that he is as he is according to his role, so that she could fight him with every drop of her blood. For the shadows in us must be seen in order to be truly beaten. And evil is never fought if someone isn't fighting it. As a now overconfident Shadow King asks Storm if she will be the one to free her people and save the world. You, Aurora Monroe, the goddess who never fails, you alone. But Storm recognizes this trap as well, as if being a part of a team is a weakness. And Storm knows that she's an X-Men, meaning she's never alone. As she reaches out her hand, she's immediately met with Magneto, who joins her at her side instinctively and knows what must now be done. As they've done before on Arakko, they bring their powers together, and she feeds her life force to Magneto in a single attack. A perfect mutant circuit. Storm acknowledges that even in this place beyond death, we can give our lives against the great enemy of life. The Shadow King, fearful and furious at the failure of his trick, tries to break the link. But the energies have built too far now, and they are only building further, back and forth, taking more of Storm's life force with every pass. And when the storm breaks, comes the release. The Shadow King screams as we can see the combined powers of Magneto and Storm released at the Shadow King defeated him. But Storm's life force is now drained. And now it's almost the reverse of when Storm held a dying Magneto back on Arakko. As she softly asks Magneto if it's done. Magneto begs for Storm to stay with him. But Storm knows that this mission was always going to cost a huge price. And with her dwindling energy, she tells Magneto that she came here alive. And that was their weapon, her life. But you, Magneto, still have a way back. Turn your key again. Return to the world. Fight for it. But he can't accept life at this cost. Not at the cost of one more innocent life, human or mutant. Not one more. Not while I have the power to say no. And as Storm tries to tell Magneto that this is out of their hands, he refuses that sentiment. Nothing is out of our hands, he screams. And Storm thinks to herself that his anger overflows like the Magneto who was, channeled like molten iron into new paths, into the Magneto who will be. As Magneto refuses to let Storm go, he tells her that if he can draw on her life, then she can draw on his. I give it freely, he adds. I have the power. I am power. Take it and call it forth. As she now acknowledges that she can once again feel pain, endless pain. It hurts to live. It hurts to return to the world, just to be in the world. It could hurt so much. This world of hate and fear, as Magneto calls for her to take his power again, almost as if his powers were like a defibrillator for Storm. As we then are taken back to Adam Brashear and Taia, who we last saw in issue 1 of this series trying to revive Storm, who from their perspective had fallen unconscious after attempting to cross the portal. From their perspective, Storm never left, and they've been trying to revive her ever since. And finally their efforts are successful, as Storm's heart begins to beat again, strong and steady. And as Storm now starts to wake up, Adam Brashear is thankful to have her back with them in the land of the living. But Storm lets Adam know that she actually did it. She accomplished her goal and completed her mission. And she tells Adam to look, as they notice that now someone else is coming through the portal. And when Adam asks who it is that's coming through, Storm knows that he already knows, as the portal gate screams as matter is torn from the energy beyond, spinning flesh, bone and blood, new and yet somehow the original. Who am I? The mysterious person asks. I am power. Men call me Magneto. As a now fully formed Magneto appears on this side of the portal. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the master of magnetism is officially back amongst the land of the living. And that, my friends, is the end of this issue. Damn, this issue was so good, y'all. I love this series so far, and now I'm super geeked about what happens next with this fight with Orchis. And I'm honestly a little bit torn, as Magneto seems like he's changed as a person from this experience. But at the same time, this Orchis threat needs classic Magneto. But like he told the Shadow King, he is still the dark version of himself with the new light version. So I'm looking forward to seeing this new, more Zen-like Magneto, but I'm hopeful that he still gets down and dirty when he needs be. But what did you guys think of this issue? And how awesome was it that Magneto gave part of his life energy back to Storm? I think that was an amazing representation of how far the relationship between these two has come. I wonder how Charles will react when he sees Magneto once again. But what are you guys thinking about this whole Fall of the House of X event so far? Is it living up to your expectations? Is it giving the Krakoan era the proper ending that it deserves, in your opinion? But big shout out to writer Al Ewing for this series and Luciano Vecchio for the artwork. This has been a well-written and stunning visual series, but you guys hit me up in the comments because this is a series worth talking about, I think. And it's kind of fitting that I just watched the first 2 episodes of X-Men 97 while bringing you this video, as the relationship between Magneto and Storm in that series seems like perfect synergy with this one. Well done by Marvel, releasing this issue on the same day as the animated series return. Well done indeed. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this video and this channel, and you'd like to support the channel, then you could do so by joining the Iconic Fan Club channel membership. And there'll be a link in the description to join. But with your membership, you'll gain access to weekly interactive live streams with yours truly in front of the camera, where we could talk about everything that's been going down in these issues, as well as ones that you'd like for me to go over in the future and other comic book news. Plus, you guys will get loyalty badges, member shout outs, and more in these videos. Or you guys can donate to the channel with a super thanks. And if you're not able to do that, then you can still be a huge help to the channel by dropping a like, share, and subscribing to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out. Peace.